Have you ever been listening to a song and noticed the guitar swelling in, almost like a violin? Or maybe a powerful riff slowly building from silence to just a full on roar? It's that subtle yet incredibly impactful control over sound. And often it comes down to something that looks pretty simple: the volume and expression pedal. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the, well, often overlooked yet absolutely fascinating evolution of these unassuming devices. Our mission, really, is to trace their journey from these basic mechanical aids right up to the high resolution digital controllers we see today. And we want to reveal how they didn't just change the gear musicians use, but, fundamentally transformed how they create and perform.
Oh, absolutely. And it really is a story filled with ingenuity. It's born out of this constant need musicians have to expand their expression, right? We'll explore how musicians, faced with limitations, were constantly pushing the boundaries of what was possible. And that led to innovations that, just as you said, reshaped entire genres of music. It's quite a compelling blend of sort of historical context and technological advancement that, yeah, genuinely transformed the very act of playing.
It's amazing to think before dedicated foot pedals even existed, guitarists were already incredibly resourceful. Like, imagine you're back in the 1930s or early 40s. You want that smooth violin-like swell. How did you do it? Well, you'd use what some people called a wrist swell. This meant literally using the fleshy part of your palm or your wrist to roll the guitar's own volume knob while you were playing. It's actually a pretty clever technique. You can hear it on some fantastic early jazz and Western swing recordings. But as you can imagine, this came with a pretty big limitation.
Oh, definitely.
It tied your hands to both the fretboard and the volume control. That seriously restricted your musical expressivity. I mean, I can just picture the frustration.
Right. Trying to pull off a complex chord and get a perfect swell at the same time.
Exactly.
That really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How do you free up a musician's hands for more complex playing while still allowing for that crucial dynamic control? That manual limitation, as you described it, really highlighted the need. It sort of pushed musicians to ask, what if we could control this with something else?
Something that doesn't tie up our hand.
Precisely. Something that leaves the hands free for the music itself.
And that something else quickly became the foot. The shift to foot-operated controls was, well, an absolute game changer. One of the earliest examples we see is the Dearman Model 1100 volume control. That was around 1948. This thing was basically a cast metal wedge using a simple potentiometer under a treadle. And pedal steel guitarists, they were among the first to jump on this.
Oh yeah, perfect for them.
Using it for those signature smooth dynamic fades. The sound so crucial in country and Hawaiian styles. Then, fast forward a bit to the mid-60s, the rise of British rock. Vox released their own volume pedal around '63. It was a larger, hinged plate design, actually very similar to their iconic wah pedal housing. Session musicians in the Mersey beat scene picked it up quickly, using it for subtle, clean tones, especially with cleaner amps.
What I find truly compelling there is how quickly these new tools were adopted by specific genres. For pedal steel, like you said, it was about getting those liquid, sustained swells without messing up their complex fingerings. For early rock, it allowed for more nuanced dynamics, even as distortion started becoming more common. It's a clear demonstration of how immediate and impactful the practical benefits were, across different musical landscapes. It shaped their sound.
Definitely shaped the sound. And then, 1972, something truly revolutionary happened with the Ernie Ball VP Jr. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. It was designed by Steve Denies, and this pedal became an instant classic. I mean, a true industry standard. It had key features like true bypass. What that means is, when the pedal's off, your signal goes straight through, totally unaffected. Preserves your guitar tone.
Which is huge for tone purists.
Absolutely. It used a sealed potentiometer that helps keep out dust and grime, makes it last longer, and a 250K audio taper pot that's crucial for making the volume swell sound smooth and natural to our ears, not like sudden or abrupt. Plus, it had mechanical end stops and this really rugged cast housing. Built like a tank, its ubiquity is just undeniable. It earned its place on pretty much every pro pedal board for decades.
It still does, on many.
Right. Think of Angus Young's iconic chugging guitar intros that build up, or Andy Summers from The Police, his ambient swells. They often relied on an Ernie Ball VP Jr., and it wasn't just about volume. Ernie Ball also popularized the VP-JR Plus TRS cable standard, using a €14 TRS jack wiring, which basically allowed the expression pedal output to control other devices too.
And if we step back for a second, connecting this to the bigger picture, the VP Jr. wasn't just a great pedal in itself. It standardized how many other devices would eventually communicate. That set a really crucial foundation for future innovation. That standardization wasn't just, a convenience thing. It was kind of a silent revolution. It meant that a musician could finally start designing their whole sonic setup, knowing their expression pedal would talk to their delay, their reverb, maybe even synths later on. It really moved the pedal from being just a tool to being like a true command center, empowering artists to sculpt sounds in real time in ways that were unimaginable before.
That command center idea is huge. But okay, traditional potentiometers, while they worked, they have
Yeah,
limitations, right? They can get scratchy over time, they wear out.
that dreaded crackle.
Exactly. So the drive for quieter, more durable solutions led to some pretty significant advancements in the 1980s. Morley volume pedals, for instance, came out in 1986. They used an LED LDR or optical sensor instead of a mechanical pot. This completely eliminated that annoying, scratchy noise and significantly reduced wear and tear, made them ideal for heavy use, like stage rigs where reliability is paramount. Then, in 1992, Boss introduced the FV500L. This was their first low-impedance volume pedal. Basically designed to work perfectly after buffered effects or with active pickups, it helped ensure signal integrity and a wider frequency response, especially over longer cable runs. Plus, it had a sealed pot and true bypass.
And this raises that important question. Why does scratchy potentiometer noise even matter so much? Well, it's all about reliability and fidelity, especially in a live performance. No musician wants a crackle or a pop to ruin a quiet, delicate swell, right? So optical designs, buffered designs, they were genuine game changers for professional musicians who needed consistent, clean signal paths. It wasn't just about avoiding a crackle, it was about the trust a musician could place in their gear, knowing their performance wouldn't be sabotaged by an unreliable pedal.
Precisely. That reliability became absolutely key. And once you had that clean signal path sorted, the logical next step for these foot controls wasn't just better volume. It was using them for, well, anything else. And that's exactly what happened in the mid-80s to 90s with this massive conceptual Leap the Rise expression pedals. These weren't just about volume anymore. They opened up vast new creative possibilities by controlling pretty much any parameter you could think of. The Roland EXP-05, released in 1985, was a passive expression pedal wired via that TRS cable we mentioned. Its emergence perfectly coincided with the rise of multi-effects units, like the Roland GP8. Suddenly, players could sweep parameters like wah filter or delay time or maybe a synth filter cutoff all with their foot. It turned the foot control concept into a universal standard almost overnight,
It really did.
and the industry caught on fast. By 1990, Digitech had their own expression pedal. Soon, every major brand you know, Line 6, Boss, Korg, TC Electronic, they all offered expression inputs on their rack units and pedals, and they started selling their own TRS-wired controllers too.
The real genius in this, I think, lies in that evolution. From simply controlling volume to controlling any parameter. That unlocked an entirely new dimension of real-time sound sculpting. You move beyond just static effects settings. I mean, imagine being able to dynamically change the character of delay while you're playing, or morphing a synth pad with your foot, freeing your hands up for the notes themselves. It transformed the pedal from just a utility into a truly expressive instrument in its own right.
And that expressive power just got supercharged by the digital revolution, right? So in the 2000s, Roland rolled out the EV5 and EV7 pedals passive and active versions. These had adjustable minimum and maximum voltage settings. That let players define really precise sweep ranges for the modern floorboards and synth rigs that were coming out. Then came something really cutting edge, the Keith McMillan Soft Step in 2010. This thing was totally different. A lightweight rubber pad controller sending 14-bit MIDI CCs. Now, 14-bit MIDI, that translates to thousands more levels of precision than standard MIDI. You get incredibly fine-grained, smooth control over effects, no stepping. It also offered latching functions, even XY pad control. It really started blurring the line between a simple volume or expression pedal and a full-blown performance controller. And for those with really specific needs, boutique innovators like Mission Engineering started their EP series around 2012. They offered expression pedals with adjustable tension, calibration switches for different devices, even mini formats for those super crowded pedal boards.
Looking at the broader landscape here, this is where precision and customization truly took off. High-resolution MIDI control means incredibly smooth, artifact-free transitions when you're sweeping parameters. And features like adjustable tension or XY pads give artists just unprecedented control over their sound. It allows for incredibly nuanced performances that were pretty much impossible before.
Yeah.
It's like having a digital sculptor for your sound right there at your foot.
Yeah, digital sculptor. I like that. And the innovation didn't stop there either. Today we're seeing some incredible hybrid and specialty swell pedals, really tailored for very specific needs. Take the GigRig TOF. That came out in 2018. It actually combines a passive optical volume path, so quiet operation with a high headroom buffer and stereo I/O. That stereo part is crucial for players running complex stereo rigs. Plus, it has an expression pedal input for remote control. Or look at the Walrus Audio Lillian from 2020. It's this compact, low-profile optical volume pedal, perfect for ambient players who need those truly silent swells but don't have much precious pedal board space.
Space is always at a premium.
Always. And then there's the Empress Effects volume pedal. It offers dual mono operation, trim knobs for setting the minimum volume, and a buffered output, all in a true bypass optical package.
What's quite remarkable here, I think, is how the market is now catering to these highly specific player needs, whether it's the demand for completely silent operation for ambient music, or precise control over the minimum volume for dynamic effects, or those stereo signal paths for complex setups. These specialized designs really show the incredible depth of innovation that's emerged from those initial, relatively simple designs. It's about constantly refining the artist's toolkit.
So, okay, we've talked a lot about the tech. What does all this technical evolution actually mean for the music we love? Well, these advancements have translated directly into iconic sounds that have really defined artists and even genres. Think of Andy Summers from The Police. He's famous for those dramatic swell tones on songs like Walking on the Moon, often achieved with an Ernie Ball VP Jr. and a delay loop, creating those ethereal textures.
Instantly recognizable sound.
Totally. Or David Gilmour of Pink Floyd. He used volume pedals extensively on ambient pieces and slide guitar parts to shape his signature breathing leads, adding that almost vocal quality without using his hands on the knob. And Jeff Beck, a true master of what you might call Wallace Whammy-style swells. He'd often combine volume pedal swells with fuzz and delay for this incredibly vocal-like phrasing. Almost sounded like a human voice singing.
He made the guitar talk, really.
He really did. And of course, in the world of ambient and post-rock music, bands like Sigur Rós or Explosions in the Sky rely heavily on optical volume pedals and expression controllers. They use them to morph these huge washes of delay and reverb in real time, creating their vast, ethereal soundscapes.
And this really brings up an important question, doesn't it? How does a piece of hardware, a pedal, become such an extension of an artist's voice? In all these examples you gave, the pedal isn't just a tool they use occasionally. It's actually integral to their unique sonic identity and to the emotional impact of the music they create. It allows them to inject personality and nuance in a way that just wouldn't be possible otherwise. It becomes almost as expressive as a vocalist or maybe a violinist using their bow.
What an incredible journey we've covered today, from those early guitarists kind of awkwardly wrist-swelling their volume knobs, right up to today's incredibly sophisticated, high-resolution digital controllers. I think the core insight here really is how volume and expression pedals empowered guitarists, and let's not forget synth players too, to shape tone and dynamics with their feet. It freed both their hands for the actual music and opened up entirely new realms of expression. So, here's a thought for you listening. Next time you listen to a piece of music, try to identify where these subtle, or maybe not so subtle, dynamic shifts are happening. How do you think freeing up a musician's hands changes the way they compose or perform? What other seemingly small innovations have had such a massive impact on an art form? Something to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.